Captain Sarah stared at the massive structure floating in space. It was bigger than any city on Earth. The metal was black and seemed to eat light itself. Strange patterns covered its surface like writing from a dream. "How long has this thing been here?" asked Dr. James Miller, the team scientist. "Computer says maybe 1,000,000 years," replied. "Maybe more." The human ship Endeavour moved slowly toward the ancient structure. Had been exploring space for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Most alien ruins were small and broken. This looked like it was built yesterday. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 50 years ago. Humans were the members. The other 12 alien races treated them like children. They gave humans the boring jobs mapping empty space and checking old ruins that everyone else had already searched. This structure was different. It was in a part of space that no one had mapped. The Galactic Council said this area was empty and useless, but the computer showed energy readings coming from the black structure. "Captain, I'm reading something strange," said Tom, the ship's engineer. "This thing is generating power, a lot of power." Frown, dead ruins did not make power. Any life signs? "No, but there's something else. The energy pattern is like nothing I've seen before." Made her decision. "We're going aboard. Tom, get the suits ready. James, bring your scanning tools." The alien structure had docking ports that seemed made for their ship. That was strange. Human ships were built differently than alien ships, yet the ports fit perfectly. Inside the structure, everything was dark. Their lights showed halls that went on forever. The walls were covered with symbols that hurt to look at. They seemed to move when no one was watching. "These symbols," James said, running his scanner over them. "They're not just writing, they're doing something to space itself." They walked for an hour through empty corridors. The structure was huge inside, bigger than it looked from outside, which should have been impossible. Finally, they found a room with light. Blue light came from crystals in the walls. In the center of the room sat a chair made of the same black metal as the walls. "Careful," warned as James moved toward the chair. But when he got close, the crystals began to glow brighter. "It's reacting to me," James said. "To us. It knows we're here." The chair began to hum. Patterns of light ran across its surface. The symbols on the walls started to glow and move faster. "I think it wants someone to sit in it," Tom said. Shook her head. "That could be dangerous." But James was already moving. "Look at the readings. This technology is incredible. It's working with quantum fields I didn't know existed." Before could stop him, James sat in the chair. The room exploded with light. Not bright light that hurt the eyes, but light that seemed to go through everything. James screamed, but not in pain, in wonder. Images filled the air around them. They saw the galaxy as it was long ago. They saw a race of beings that looked like tall humans with silver skin. They saw these beings building impossible things, cities that floated in space, machines that could reshape stars. "The architects," James whispered. His eyes were glowing with the same blue light as the crystals. "They called themselves the architects. They built everything, and then they left." "James, get out of that chair," ordered. "I can see it all," James continued. "They didn't just build machines. They built reality. They could change the laws of physics with their minds." More images came. The architects working with technology that seemed alive. They would think, and matter would reshape itself. They would dream, and new worlds would appear. "They're all gone now," James said. "But they left this. They left it for someone who could use it properly." "And who's that?" Tom asked. James looked at them with glowing eyes. "Us, humans. We're the only ones who can interface with their systems naturally." Felt her blood go cold. "What do you mean?" "Our brains work on quantum frequencies that match theirs. No other race in the galaxy has this. They tried to use architect technology and failed. They couldn't even touch it without getting sick. But humans were compatible." The chair powered down and James slumped forward. The glow faded from his eyes, and Tom rushed to help him. "I'm okay," he said. "Better than okay, I understand now. This isn't just a ruin, it's a test. The architects left their greatest technology here, waiting for a race that could use it responsibly." "What kind of technology?" asked. James smiled. "Quantum consciousness manipulation, the ability to change reality with directed thought. In the hands of the wrong species, it could destroy the galaxy, but humans, we have something the architects were looking for." "What's that?" "The ability to use ultimate power without losing our humanity." Looked around the glowing room. She thought about Earth and the Galactic Council. Humans were treated like children because they were weak and new. The other races had better ships, better weapons, better everything. But if what James said was true, humans had found something that would change everything. "Can we take this technology back to Earth?" she asked. "Some of it, the chair, is just one interface. There are thousands more throughout this structure. And James," he paused, looking at his hands, "I think some of it came back with me." As if to prove his point, James held out his hand. A small crystal formed in his palm, made of pure light. "We need to get back to Earth," said, "and we need to tell no one else about this. Not yet." Tom nodded. "The council races wouldn't understand. They'd try to take it from us or destroy it." "Exactly," said. "This stays secret until we figure out what to do with it." As they left the architect structure, couldn't shake the feeling that they had just changed the course of human history. In the depths of space, humanity had found its destiny. The question now was whether they were ready for it. Behind them, the ancient structure powered down, waiting patiently for the humans to return. The architects had been gone for 1,000,000 years, but their greatest gift had finally found its intended recipients. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Doctor stared at the data on her screen for the 100th time. 3 months had passed since Captain's team returned from the architect's structure. The information they brought back was impossible, but the proof was sitting right in front of her. James Miller sat in the laboratory chair, holding a piece of metal in his hands. As watched, the metal began to change shape. It stretched and twisted, becoming a perfect sphere, then a cube, then a complex geometric pattern that should not have been possible to create. "How does it feel?" asked. "Natural," James replied. "Like the metal wants to change. I just have to think about what I want and it happens." Made notes on her tablet. Since returning from the alien structure, James had developed abilities that no human should have. At first, it was small things. He could make lights brighter by thinking about them. He could change the temperature of water with his mind. Now, 3 months later, he could reshape matter itself. "The brain scans show quantum activity in areas we've never seen before," told General Harrison, who was watching from behind protective glass. "It's like James has developed new parts of his brain that work with quantum fields." General Harrison frowned. "Is it safe?" "So far, yes. James shows no signs of physical or mental damage. If anything, he seems healthier than before." The military had taken over the research as soon as report reached Earth. The discovery was classified at the highest levels. Only 50 people on Earth knew about the architect technology. "We've run tests on volunteers," continued. 10% of humans can interface with architect devices to some degree. 1% can do what James does. "That's still millions of people," Harrison said. Nodded, "but it takes training, and we need more architect technology to train them properly." "About that," Harrison said, "Captain's team goes back to the structure next week. This time they're bringing cargo ships." Felt excited and worried at the same time. The architect technology could change everything for humanity, but she also knew what it meant. If other races in the Galactic Council found out, there would be trouble. "General, have you thought about what happens when the Council learns about this?" Harrison's face went dark. "The Empire thinks they rule the galaxy. The Confederacy believes they're the race alive. Neither of them would accept humans becoming more powerful than them. Then we keep it secret. For now, but secrets don't last forever. In another part of the facility, human volunteers practiced with small architect devices. Sarah, a former engineer, could make tools appear in her hands just by thinking about them. Tors, an ex-pilot, had learned to make his body move faster than should be possible. The most amazing thing was how natural it felt for humans. Other races had tried for thousands of years to understand architect technology. They built massive computers to interface with simple devices. They needed armies of scientists to operate basic systems. Humans just sat down and started using them. "It's in our DNA," James explained to One Day. "The architects didn't just leave technology. They left instructions written into the quantum structure of space itself. Human consciousness evolved to read those instructions. Studied the genetic data. You're saying we were designed for this. Or we evolved toward it. Maybe the architects influenced human development millions of years ago. Maybe they planned for us to find their technology when we were ready." Ready for what? James smiled. "To inherit the galaxy." Meanwhile, in space, Captain's second mission to the architect structure was going perfectly. This time, they brought a team of 50 people and several cargo ships. The structure seemed to welcome them. New areas opened up that had been sealed before. Found rooms full of devices she couldn't even name. There were machines that could create new materials, systems that could bend space, and computers that thought faster than light could travel. "It's like a university," told her team. "The architects built this place to teach someone how to use their technology." Dr. Miller, who had come on the second mission, discovered something even more amazing. In the deepest part of the structure, they found what looked like a map of the galaxy. But it wasn't showing planets or stars. It was showing consciousness itself. "Look at this," Miller said, pointing to patterns of light. "Each race in the galaxy has a different quantum signature, but humans were different." Looked at the human pattern on the map. Where other races showed simple, stable patterns, humans showed something complex and changing. The pattern looked almost like it was growing. "We're evolving," Miller realized. "Even now, just by being exposed to architect technology, human consciousness is changing." Felt a chill. Changing into what? "I don't know, but the architects went through the same process. This map shows their development over millions of years." "And what happened to them?" Miller pointed to the edge of the map, where the architect pattern simply stopped. "They transcended physical existence. They became something beyond matter and energy." Stared at the map. "Is that our future?" "Maybe, but first, we have to survive long enough to reach it." Back on Earth was making the same discovery. As more humans trained with architect technology, they were all changing. Not just gaining abilities, but becoming something new. "It's not just individual enhancement," she reported to General Harrison. "Human consciousness itself is evolving. We're developing collective abilities." "What do you mean?" Showed him data from the latest tests. Humans using architect technology can share thoughts and work together in ways that shouldn't be possible. They're becoming networked. Like a hive mind. No, they keep their individual personalities and free will, but they can cooperate on a quantum level. Imagine 100 humans working together to reshape reality itself. Harrison understood immediately. We wouldn't need armies or fleets. A single group of enhanced humans could do anything. The question is, what do we do with that power? Before Harrison could answer, alarms started ringing. Lieutenant Davis rushed into the room with a worried expression. "Sir, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up alien ships heading toward human space." "How many?" 50 ships, Empire markings. They'll reach the outer colonies in 6 days. Harrison and looked at each other. The secret was out. Somehow, the Galactic Council had learned about the architect technology. "Get me Captain," Harrison ordered, "and prepare the enhanced volunteers for combat." Felt her stomach drop. "General, they're not ready for war." "They're about to be," Harrison replied grimly, "because war is coming whether they're ready or not." The time for hiding was over. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what they had become. Captain Torres stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching 200 warships approach. The alien fleet looked like a swarm of angry insects against the stars. Each ship was 3 times larger than his vessel. "Captain, they're demanding we surrender," said Lieutenant from the communication station. Torres smiled calmly. "What exactly are they saying?" "The commander says humanity has developed forbidden technology. They're here to confiscate it and arrest our leadership." Torres felt the familiar warmth in his mind that meant the architect interface was active. 3 months of training had taught him to work with the quantum consciousness system. Now, facing the most powerful military force humanity had ever encountered, he felt no fear. "Tell them we decline their offer," Torres said. Behind him, Dr. Miller operated the ship's new systems. The Prometheus looked like a normal human vessel from outside, but inside, it had been rebuilt with architect technology. The ship's computer was no longer just a machine. It was an extension of the crew's enhanced minds. "Sir, the fleet is moving into attack formation," reported. Torres nodded. He had expected this. The Empire had ruled their part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were warriors who believed strength was the only thing that mattered. To them, humans were weak creatures who had gotten lucky. Today, they would learn how wrong they were. "Admiral L of the Empire, this is Captain Torres," he said into the communication system. "You have entered human space without permission. Please leave." The reply came quickly. L's voice sounded like gravel grinding together. "Humans do not give orders to. You will surrender now or be destroyed." "I'm sorry you feel that way," Torres replied. Then he closed the communication link and turned to his crew. There were only 12 people on the Prometheus. A normal human crew could never operate a ship in battle against 200 enemies, but his crew wasn't normal anymore. "Are you all ready?" Torres asked. Each crew member nodded. They had all been enhanced with architect technology. Their minds were connected to the ship's systems and to each other. They thought and acted as one while remaining individuals. "Let's show them what humans can do," Torres said. The fleet fired first. Energy beams that could destroy planets shot toward the Prometheus. Torres didn't order evasive maneuvers or raise shields. Instead, he simply thought about the beams not hitting his ship. The energy blasts curved away from the Prometheus like water flowing around a stone. They curved so sharply that several beams hit ships instead. 3 enemy vessels exploded from their own weapons. "Impossible," whispered watching the display. "It's just quantum probability adjustment," Miller explained calmly. "We're making it more likely that their shots miss than hit." Admiral L's voice came over the communication system again. This time, he sounded confused. "What trickery is this?" "No trickery," Torres replied. "Just human ingenuity." The fleet spread out and fired again. This time, they used missiles and plasma cannons along with energy beams. Thousands of weapons fired at the single human ship. Torres closed his eyes and reached out with his enhanced mind. He could feel the quantum structure of space around his ship. With a thought, he began to change it. The missiles suddenly forgot what they were supposed to do. They flew in circles, looking confused. The plasma bursts turned into harmless light shows. The energy beams decided to fire backward, toward the ships that launched them. More ships exploded, not from human weapons but from their own confused armaments. "This is not possible," L's voice cracked with fear. "Nothing can make our weapons turn against us." Torres opened his eyes and smiled. "We're not making your weapons do anything, Admiral. We're just suggesting that they might want to reconsider their targets." "That makes no sense." "It doesn't have to make sense to you. It just has to work." The commander tried a different approach. Instead of shooting, he ordered his ships to ram the Prometheus. Physical impact couldn't be confused or redirected like energy weapons. Tors watched the massive dreadnought charging toward his ship. At the last moment, he reached out with his mind and touched the enemy vessel's hull. The dreadnought's armor began to change. Metal became soft like cloth. The ship's structure collapsed on itself. What had been a mighty warship became a twisted sculpture floating helplessly in space. "We're making their hulls permeable," Miller reported, as if discussing the weather. "Their atmosphere is venting into space, but we're making sure the crew areas stay pressurized." Tors nodded. "We don't want to kill them, just show them that fighting us is pointless." Across the fleet, ships began experiencing impossible problems. Their navigation systems reported that they were simultaneously in 17 different locations. Their engines worked perfectly but moved their ships backward. Their communication systems broadcast only poetry written in ancient human languages. "Admiral," Tors said gently, "your weapons can't hurt us, your ships can't ram us, your technology doesn't work properly in our presence. Do you understand what this means?" Silence from the fleet. "It means," Tors continued, "that humans have developed beyond your ability to threaten us. We could destroy your entire fleet without firing a single shot. We could make your ships forget how to exist." "Then why don't you?" El finally asked. Tors smiled. "Because we don't want to hurt you. We want to help you understand that the galaxy has changed." "Changed how?" "Humans are no longer the weak newcomers you remember. We've found our place in the universe, and that place is not beneath other races." Tors made a gesture, and suddenly all the ships were working normally again. Their weapons functioned, their hulls were solid, their navigation systems made sense. "You're free to go, Admiral. Return to your empire. Tell them what you've seen here. Tell them that humans are not their enemies, but we're no longer their inferiors either." The fleet stayed motionless for 10 minutes. Tors could imagine the debates happening on their ships. Finally, El spoke again. "This is not over, human." "No," Tors agreed. "It's just beginning. The galaxy is about to change in ways none of us can imagine. The question is whether your people want to be part of that change or fight against it." The fleet turned and left human space. They moved quickly, like animals fleeing from a predator they couldn't understand. Dr. Miller looked at Tors. "Think they'll report back to their government?" "Absolutely, and their government will tell the Galactic Council." "That means war." Tors nodded slowly. "Not the kind of war they're expecting, though. They'll come with fleets and armies, thinking this is about military strength." "And it's not." "No, it's about evolution. Humans have taken the next step in the development of consciousness itself. We're not just using technology anymore. We're becoming technology." Lieutenant looked worried. "Sir, what happens when the other races realize we're no longer the same species that joined the Galactic Council?" Tors looked out at the stars where the fleet had disappeared. "Then we find out if the galaxy is big enough for old humanity and new humanity to coexist." In the distance, space itself seemed to shimmer as the Prometheus's enhanced systems continued to operate. Reality was becoming more flexible around humans, more willing to bend to their will. The demonstration was over. Now came the real test. Supreme Executor of the Confederacy stared at the holographic display in the center of the Galactic Council chamber. The image showed Admiral L's battle report. 200 warships defeated by a single human vessel, without a shot being fired. "This is impossible," declared War Prime of the Empire. His 4 arms gestured angrily at the display. "Our weapons are the finest in the galaxy. Our ships have conquered 100 worlds." "Yet they were useless against one human ship," replied calmly. They prided themselves on logical thinking, but even felt fear creeping into his ancient mind. Around the circular chamber, representatives from all 12 member races of the Galactic Council watched the replay of the battle. The elegant with their crystal bodies, the massive with their stone-like skin, the energy beings called the Flux Collective, all of them showing signs of worry. "Explain to us again what happened to your weapons," requested Council Speaker of the diplomatic caste. L's image flickered as he responded. "They stopped working properly. Missiles forgot their targets. Energy beams fired backward. Our ship hulls became soft like fabric. It was like reality itself was working against us." "And the human ship?" asked Executor. "It did nothing. No weapons fired, no shields raised. The humans simply thought, and our fleet became helpless." Silence filled the chamber. In 10,000 years of galactic civilization, no race had ever demonstrated such power. The strongest weapons could destroy planets. The most advanced technology could manipulate matter and energy. But what the humans had done was beyond both. They had changed the laws of physics themselves. "How many human ships have this capability?" asked General of the Republic. "Unknown," L replied. "Our intelligence suggests dozens, maybe hundreds." "And human population?" "Growing rapidly. They're colonizing new worlds faster than any race in recorded history. Some reports say they're reshaping entire solar systems." Warprime slammed his fist on the council table. "They must be stopped. If humans can defeat our fleets without weapons, they threaten the entire galactic order." "The speak of war," observed the Flux Collective representative, "its energy form pulsing with different colors. But how does one wage war against beings who can rewrite reality?" Executor stood up. At 3 meters tall, the leader commanded attention. "I have been analyzing the battle data. What humans demonstrated is not just advanced technology. It appears to be consciousness operating at the quantum level." "Meaning?" asked Speaker. "Meaning they have evolved beyond us. They are no longer the same species that joined this council 50 years ago." The chamber erupted in voices. Fear, anger, and confusion mixed together as the greatest civilizations in the galaxy tried to understand what humanity had become. "Order," Speaker called. "What do you recommend, Executor?" Touched his control panel and new images appeared. "Our scientists have been studying human space from a distance. These are recent observations." The images showed impossible things. Human ships that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Space stations built from pure energy. Planets with artificial gravity fields that created floating continents. "They are not using technology as we understand it," explained. "They have become technology. Their minds directly interface with the quantum structure of reality." "How is this possible?" demanded General. "We believe they found architect ruins, the legendary race that vanished 1,000,000 years ago." Every being in the chamber went silent. The architects were myths to most races, ancient stories told by the oldest civilizations. Even the who kept detailed historical records had only legends about them. "The architects were said to have transcended physical existence," continued. "If humans have found their technology, then humans could do the same," finished Speaker. "They could evolve beyond physical form entirely." Warprime laughed bitterly. "Or they could enslave us all. A race that can change reality with their thoughts has no need for allies or treaties." "The humans have made no aggressive moves," pointed out Ambassador Lyra of the Peaceful Harmonies Union. "They defended themselves when attacked but did not destroy the fleet when they could have." "That means nothing," replied. "They're waiting until they're stronger, building their power while we debate." Executor called up more data. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy show similar patterns. Human colonies are expanding rapidly. Their population is growing beyond normal biological limits. Some humans appear to be living for centuries without aging. Enhanced biology, observed Dr. Al of the Medical Research Collective. They are improving themselves at the genetic level. More than that, said grimly, they are becoming something entirely new. The question facing this council is simple. Do we allow this evolution to continue, or do we stop it while we still can? You're talking about genocide, Ambassador Lyra said with horror. I'm talking about survival, replied. In 100 years, humans will be gods compared to us. In 1,000 years, they might not even remember we exist. Or they might lift us all to their level, Lyra countered. The humans have always shown cooperation and peace. That was before they had unlimited power, said quietly. The debate continued for hours. Some races wanted immediate military action. Others preferred diplomatic contact. A few suggested hiding and hopping humans would ignore them. Finally, Speaker called for order. We have 3 choices. Fight the humans now while they're still growing in power. Try to negotiate with them as equals, or submit to them as superiors. They will never submit, declared. Nor will the, added General. They prefer logical solutions, said, but logic suggests that waiting will only make humans stronger. One by one, the races voted. 8 chose military action, 3 chose negotiation. Only the Peaceful Harmonies Union chose submission. It is decided, Speaker announced. The Galactic Council authorizes the formation of the combined fleet. All member races will contribute ships and crews. How many ships? Asked. All of them, replied. Every warship, every battle station, every military asset in the galaxy. We will assemble the largest force in galactic history. Will it be enough? It has to be, because if we fail, this may be the last council meeting in galactic history. As the council session ended, orders went out across the galaxy. Military shipyards worked around the clock building new vessels. Ancient warships were pulled from storage and restored. Weapons that hadn't been used in centuries were made ready. The greatest civilizations in the galaxy were preparing for war against the race they had once treated as children. In deep space, massive fleets began to gather. Dreadnoughts joined battle cruisers. Siege ships flew alongside energy vessels. The Flux Collective provided living ships that could repair themselves. 10,000 vessels, 1 million crew members, weapons capable of destroying solar systems. All aimed at one small blue planet called Earth and the humans, who had dared to evolve beyond their place in the galactic order. But as the Great Fleet prepared to move, intelligence reports brought disturbing news. Human space was changing faster than anyone had predicted. New technologies appeared daily. Impossible structures rose overnight. And the humans seemed to know the attack was coming. Some intelligence suggested they were preparing defenses. Others reported that humans were simply continuing their daily lives, as if 10,000 warships were no more threatening than a summer breeze. The question that haunted every commander in the combined fleet was simple. When gods go to war, how do mortals win? Admiral Sarah stood in the command center on Luna, watching the largest military force in galactic history approach Earth. 10,000 ships from 12 different races filled the space between Mars and Jupiter. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could crack planets. Defending Earth were 12 human ships. Admiral, they're requesting our surrender, reported Captain Torres from the bridge of the Prometheus. Smiled calmly. 6 months of working with architect technology had changed her in ways she was still discovering. Her consciousness now operated on levels that would have seemed impossible before. She could feel the quantum patterns of space itself. Tell them we're willing to talk, she replied, but we won't surrender to anyone. Around her, the command center buzzed with quiet activity. 50 enhanced humans worked at stations that looked normal but functioned through direct mental interface. They weren't operating computers, they were thinking with them. On the main display, Supreme Executor of the combined fleet appeared. The tall looked tired and worried. Admiral, I am authorized to offer terms for your surrender. Humanity will be relocated to a single world under Galactic Council supervision. Your enhanced individuals will be studied to ensure they pose no threat to galactic stability. Felt sadness rather than anger. Executor, do you really think you can force us to do anything we don't want to do? We have 10,000 ships. And we have something much more powerful. What could be more powerful than this fleet? Understanding replied simply. Before could respond, the human ships moved into position. They didn't form a battle line or raise shields. Instead, they simply existed where they were needed. The combined fleet is opening fire, Tors reported unnecessarily. Could feel the energy weapons charging across thousands of ships. The attack came like a storm of stars, energy beams that could boil oceans, missiles that could shatter moons, plasma cannons that turned matter into pure energy, all focused on 12 small human vessels. Closed her eyes and reached out with her enhanced consciousness. She wasn't alone. 50 humans in the command center joined their minds with hers. The crews of the 12 defending ships added their strength. Across Earth and its colonies, thousands of enhanced humans focused their will on a single purpose. The weapon's fire reached the human ships and simply stopped existing. Not deflected, not absorbed. The energy beams, missiles, and plasma bursts encountered human consciousness and forgot they had ever been created. Impossible, whispered, watching his sensors. Actually, quite simple, replied. We're not fighting your weapons, Executor. We're helping them understand that they don't want to fight us. Weapons don't want anything, they're machines. Everything in the universe is connected at the quantum level. Machines, people, planets, stars. Consciousness exists everywhere in different forms. We've simply learned to communicate with it. The combined fleet fired again. This time, the weapons turned into flowers before they could reach their targets. Beautiful, impossible flowers that bloomed in the vacuum of space and then faded into stardust. Your weapons are very creative, observed. They seem to prefer making art to making war. Executor tried a different approach. Ram them, physical contact cannot be altered. The massive dreadnought stone crusher charged toward Earth at full speed. Its hull was reinforced stone and metal that had survived the explosion of 3 stars. As it approached the human defensive line, something strange happened to the dreadnought. Its crew forgot how to be angry. The ship's computer systems became curious about Earth instead of hostile. The stone crusher slowed down and began broadcasting questions about human art and music. My ship is asking for poetry recommendations, reported General in confusion. We'd be happy to share our literature, replied. Humans have always believed that knowledge should be freely given. Across the combined fleet, similar changes were happening. Weapons systems became interested in philosophy. Navigation computers started composing songs. Crew members found themselves wondering why they had come to fight instead of to learn. What are you doing to us? Demanded. We're reminding you who you really are, answered. Under all the fear and anger, every species in this fleet is naturally curious and peaceful. We're just helping those better qualities surface. This is mental manipulation. No, Executor. Mental manipulation would be controlling your thoughts. We're simply creating an environment where your natural wisdom can function without interference from fear. War Prime of the tried to rally his ships. Fight this madness. Remember your duty. But his crews were too busy asking questions. Why were they fighting beings who could turn weapons into flowers? What was the point of conquest when the humans clearly had no interest in harming anyone? Wouldn't it be more interesting to learn how human consciousness enhancement worked? Felt the moment when the tide truly turned. Instead of fighting against human abilities, the aliens began to wonder if they could develop similar capabilities. "We could teach you," said, broadcasting to the entire fleet. "Not how to become human, but how to enhance your own natural consciousness abilities." "You would share this technology?" asked Dr. Al of the Medical Research Collective. "Of course. The architects didn't leave their knowledge for humans alone. They left it for any species mature enough to use it responsibly." "And you believe we are mature enough?" asked. Smiled. "You came here prepared for war, but when faced with something you couldn't understand, you're asking questions instead of simply attacking. That shows wisdom." "Some of us are still attacking," pointed out. "Several ships were still trying to fire, though their weapons kept turning into harmless light shows." "Because you're afraid," replied gently. "Fear is natural when facing the unknown, but look around you, War Prime. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships cannot threaten us. You have two choices: continue being afraid or start being curious." Over the next hour, something unprecedented happened. The largest military force in galactic history transformed into the largest peaceful gathering in galactic history. Ships designed for war began sharing scientific data. Crews trained for battle started cultural exchanges. "How is this possible?" finally asked. "Human consciousness operates on quantum frequencies that naturally promote cooperation," explained. "When we're present in large numbers, those frequencies influence the space around us. Conflict becomes harder to maintain. Understanding becomes easier to achieve." "You're changing us just by being near us." "We're revealing what was already there. Every species develops the capacity for enhanced consciousness. Most never discover it because they're too focused on competition and conflict." Captain Torres interrupted the conversation. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Galactic Council headquarters." Nodded, "Put it through." Speaker appeared on screen, flanked by the remaining council members. "Admiral, what are your terms for ending this conflict?" "There's no conflict to end," replied. "There's only a choice to make. The galaxy can continue as it has for thousands of years, with species fighting each other for resources and territory. Or we can work together to develop the next stage of galactic civilization." "What would that look like?" Gestured to the display showing the transformed fleet, and human ships were now flying in formation, sharing technical data, and crews were exchanging cultural information. "It looks like this. Species working together because cooperation produces better results than competition. Not because anyone forces them to, but because enhanced consciousness naturally tends toward unity." "And humanity's role in this new civilization?" "Considered carefully. Humans discovered architect technology first, so we'll share what we've learned. But every species will develop their own relationship with enhanced consciousness. Humans won't rule the galaxy, we'll help guide its evolution." Speaker looked at her advisors. "The Council requires guarantees that humanity won't use these abilities to dominate other races." "We could give you guarantees," said, "but you wouldn't need to trust our words. Enhanced consciousness makes domination and exploitation less appealing, not more. When you can achieve anything you want through cooperation, why would you choose conflict?" Executor spoke up, "Because some beings enjoy power for its own sake." "True, but enhanced consciousness also makes it easier to recognize and isolate such individuals before they can cause harm. A galactic civilization based on quantum consciousness enhancement would naturally select for wisdom and cooperation." The discussion continued for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. When 10,000 warships become floating universities, when weapons turn into art, when fear transforms into curiosity, old patterns of conflict become impossible to maintain. 3 days later, Admiral stood before the reformed Galactic Council on the space station that orbited the galactic center. But this wasn't the same council that had voted for war against humanity. Representatives from all 12 member races were present, but they had changed. Each delegation now included enhanced individuals who could participate in quantum consciousness communication. Decisions that once took months of debate could now be reached in minutes of shared understanding. The Council recognizes the Terran Federation as the founding member of the Enhanced Galactic Cooperative, Speaker announced. Admiral, do you accept the role of first guide? Looked out at the assembled representatives, and humans working side by side, and sharing research data, species that had been enemies for now functioning as parts of a greater whole. I accept, she said simply, but I want everyone to understand what we're really doing here. We're not creating a new government or empire. We're taking the next step in the evolution of consciousness itself. And what comes after that? Asked War Prime, who now served as cultural exchange coordinator. Smiled, feeling the quantum patterns of enhanced consciousness spreading across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. On 1,000 worlds, beings were discovering abilities they never knew they possessed. Reality was becoming more flexible, more responsive to directed will and cooperative thought. What comes after is whatever we choose to create together, she said. The architects left us their knowledge not as a gift, but as a test. They wanted to know if a species could develop ultimate power without losing their essential nature. And can we? Looked out at the stars visible through the station's transparent walls. Somewhere out there, enhanced humans and aliens were working together to reshape solar systems, create new forms of matter, and explore dimensions beyond physical space. Ask me in 1,000 years, she said, but so far I think we're doing pretty well. The galaxy had entered a new age, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple recognition that consciousness itself was the most powerful force in the universe. And when beings learned to use that force together, anything became possible. Even peace.